CIO's role has actually been changing for quite a few years. It's not completely new. Earlier, if you remember, CIO was purely a cost center. He was responsible for developing internal systems. He was given an IT budget. He had to meet the budgets and deliver applications on time, make sure that they ran well and efficiently. A few years back, that expectation changed. Suddenly, they were involved in the business side of things. They were expected to even monetize the IT assets. They became enabler for revenues, profitability, and so on. Today, there is one more shift. CIOs are very key to transformation today. Net result is they need multiple skills. They have to be almost like Zen masters with not only technology skills, but also business skills, people skills, and change management skills. Let's look at each one of these dimensions. If you look at business, today product life cycles have become shorter. It is no longer a 5-year, 10-year life cycle. The early phase to growth phase to stabilization phase to decline phase is much faster, which means CIOs have to be much more nimble. Earlier, the product differentiation was on the basis of features. Today, it's based on personalization, which means CEOs have a very big role to play. And similarly, look at the business side of things. As I said, product life cycles are becoming shorter, which means CIOs need tremendous business knowledge and understanding of the marketplace. Similarly, on the people side, earlier talent was highly local. Today, it doesn't matter whether you have your employees in Bangalore or Vizag or Siliguri or some other country. It's one marketplace thanks to work from home. We don't care where we source our employees from. As long as they have the relevant skills, it's absolutely fine. And finally, not to forget change management. This is the biggest skill today. It's no longer like this is your IT solution or application for a particular problem. The entire company has to adopt. That kind of a model doesn't exist anymore. You need to get all the stakeholders through your influence. It's not so much authority, and get a buy-in from them, which means you have to convince them through rational arguments, emotional arguments, and so on and so forth. Net result, today's CIO has to be a combination of a technologist, a business person, a people person, and a change manager. That's the biggest change I see. There are some foundational steps, and then there are some transformational steps. Now, I would divide this into two pieces. The foundational steps are in terms of getting the infrastructure in place, moving the desktops, laptops to people's house, making sure that there is data security. For example, people may be handling very confidential data, and we need to make sure that there is no data leakage, there is no violation of laws, and so on. So cyber security became a very, very important thing. And then we had to train people on things like video conferencing, how to use some of those things. I would call some of these things as fairly foundational. These are infrastructure related, making sure that work goes on a day-to-day basis. Then there is a transformational aspect. You have to train people on these technologies. You have to also tell them how to be successful on the operating model, on this new operating model, right? How to interact with people, how to get the work done in terms of working on a remote and virtual mode and so on. This is one piece. The second piece is the change in technology itself, a change in the way we do IT applications today. For example, earlier a disaster recovery meant you had another center in different part of the city or different part of the country. Today, all that is not enough. A disaster can strike the entire globe. Today, we have to move from a pure on-prem model to a hybrid model or a cloud model. That's a very big change. And similarly, the change in the technology footprint is also much more rapid, which means you have to skill people fairly quickly and in a very agile manner. These are some of the changes I see, some of the adaptations we had to do in the last few months. See, we are part of digital transformation for quite some time. It's not really new. But then the pace of transformation has become much faster. Whatever we had planned for the next 18 months, we have to do it in the next 6 months today. That is one major change. The internal automation has to be done at double the pace. That is the biggest change, I would say. The second piece is, as I said, in terms of people. You need to have multi-skilled kind of talent. One skill is not enough. People who are very sensitive to new concepts like customer experience, personalization, those kinds of things. Those skills are also needed. And that has become very important, which means we have to train people and we have to have people who are very agile in terms of delivery models and so on. These are two big changes which I see. The short-term and longer-term changes, there are some commonalities and some ideas which are purely long-term. The immediate priority was to get things going to ensure business continuity, make sure that customer experience is not affected, which meant the short-term priorities were getting the infrastructure right, the video conferencing piece right, cybersecurity piece right, and training people in terms of how to operate in a virtual environment right. Now, these are the shorter-term challenges. Longer-term challenges is to ensure, earlier we had a combination of manual and digital. Earlier we had a combination of on-prem and cloud. Now those mixes are changing completely. Even after the crisis gets over, a significant percentage of the population is going to continue working from home, which means we have to make permanent adjustments to our operating model. Right? That's a significant difference. And secondly, as I said, in terms of skilling, you need multi-skilled people. So you need to almost anticipate the technology changes well in advance and train people. That is another significant difference, I would say. And finally, the whole cloud angle and what I call as 3 A's in cloud: automation, analytics, and artificial intelligence, all delivered through cloud. That's a significant change. I would say automation was already gaining traction. And similarly, analytics was gaining importance. But now what's happening, these things are getting combined into one pillar. So there are no standalone projects. There are no standalone automation or analytics projects. And there is customer experience and AI in each and every new initiative. Combining these things into a new solution has become the new theme. That's a major change in our long-term strategy. This is another great question. Earlier, if you remember, Henry Ford said, any color as long as it is black. And from there, the world evolved into segmented markets. You had different segments and you had different features for different segments and so on. Today, it's almost like personalized to an individual. You have what I call as hyper-personalization. Every individual is a new segment, and you have to cater to the needs of that individual. Features are today hygiene factors. The individual may be only looking at 3 features out of 10. You don't have to have all 10 features for all individuals. So this has been perfected by some e-commerce companies. And this is also percolating into other services and even manufacturing industry segment, which means we have to ensure in all our applications there is hyper-personalization. Whatever is relevant and is of interest to that particular individual, we need to deliver that. That's a major, major change. So customer experience has become everything today. It's just not a differentiator, it is everything. The other point I would like to cover is developing applications on the basis of customer journeys. And there is no single customer journey in an industry. There are alternative journeys. Let me give you a couple of examples. One scenario is the customer looks at a newspaper ad, he gets interested, he goes to a shop, buys a product, he's not happy with the product, he tries returning the product to the shop. The shopkeeper says, no, you'll have to return it to the company, or you have to take it to a service center. And then the customer journey gets completed that way. There may be another customer who looks at an online ad. He looks at something in the internet or on the social media. He may place an ad in the online marketplace, in Amazon or Flipkart or whatever it is. And then when the product is delivered, he's not happy with the experience. He may take to social media, or he may use the call center of this particular supplier and then lodge a complaint, and it may get addressed and the journey gets complete. So there are alternative journey paths. You need to address every one of them. And in the whole process, you need to ensure omni-channel integration, right? Today, as I see it, there are two major themes around CX. One is hyper-personalization. The second one is doing things on the basis of alternate customer journeys. These are two major themes for me. First of all, let's acknowledge the problem. There is a Harvard Business School study which says on an average, employees are working at least about 50 minutes per day over and above their normal work schedule compared to the previous dispensation. In other words, work at home means 50 minutes, 1 hour of additional work every day. We could say there is major saving in terms of commute times. People save anywhere between 60 and 120 minutes every day. The point is there is definitely more work. The line of separation between work and personal life has blurred or thinned significantly. So this is something which we have to recognize and then start addressing. There are multiple ways of doing that. Some of the measures we have taken, one is around fun at work. We organize events in between. We set up meetings with no agenda. This is nothing to do with work at all. This is for socialization. So this includes virtual dinner meets, virtual coffee time, virtual fun sessions, and so on. The second thing is what our HR has been doing. They've been calling up people just to find out if they need anything, whether it is in terms of infrastructure or health-related stuff or emotional support, so that we get to diagnose these things earlier and faster, so that we can address them early enough. That is something we need to do. The third part is it's one thing to train our employees in using video conferencing technology. It's another thing to train them to survive and thrive in such an environment. People may not be equally comfortable in this kind of an environment. A lot of people need support. In an office environment, they may walk to their colleague and find out how to do stuff. In a remote environment, this becomes a little more difficult. You need to handhold them, support them in terms of getting things accomplished in a remote environment. We have taken a lot of steps around that. And finally, conscious work-life separation policies. For example, don't disturb people in the weekend unless it's really, really critical. And be sensitive to lunch hour, dinner hour, and things like that. We are educating our people significantly on that. In my book, this is a journey. This is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time to settle down. First of all, welcome to the world of CIOs. It's not one skill anymore. So being a CIO today can actually prepare you for a CEO or a board position much better than what it was, let's say 10 years back. As I said, as a CIO, you need to be a Zen master. Don't focus just on technology. Technology is important, but it's just one dimension. So you need to up your business skills, understand how business operates in terms of products, services, marketing strategy, operating model, all of that. You also need to pick up people skills, how to operate in a virtual environment, how to leverage talent from different countries, different cities, and so on. And finally, also be a change manager or an evangelist. So without all these skills, it's very difficult to succeed as a CIO. Some time back, there was a survey. This is a very dated one. This is at least 7-8 years old. And then it was, the survey found out that among the CXOs, CIOs had the shortest lifespan. They survived in their role only for about 18 months because they were a cost center. Today, it is no longer like that. The CIOs are very much part of the management and executive committee, which also means additional responsibilities, additional skill sets. So be extremely aware to go beyond your technology capabilities and build people capabilities, business capabilities, and also change management capabilities. That is one thing for you. Second, the line between infrastructure and IT or application development is also blurring. There's a lot of work which is getting done in the cloud, and the rate of change of is significant. So be agile, be flexible, be willing to learn more at a fairly fast clip. And finally, this whole theme of customer experience. Earlier, engineering was considered to be very, very important. Today, CX is equally important. All your stakeholders, whether they're your people or clients or suppliers, their customer experience is extremely important. I already spoke about hyper-personalization and client journeys. Be extremely aware of that. To my mind, these three things are very important for a new age CIO.